guys, it is Kieran from RedDevilWeekly and we are back to preview yet another United fixture. Tonight we are previewing United's game against Nottingham Forest, our first 3 o'clock kickoff in what's felt like a while. Last season we were in the Europa League, in the doldrums, playing that competition. Hopefully that's the last time I'm saying that for a while, though the way we started this season, I'm not too sure, but hoping that we can turn it around and hoping we start with the game tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Obviously in the UK, blackout, so we won't be able to watch it. It won't be on TV, so have to find whatever way you can of watching it if you're in the UK. If not, go ahead, watch as much football as possible. But with us, we're not talking about that this stream. We're not going to get into that issue because we'd be here all night. But we are going to talk about United's game against Nottingham Forest. Before we get into it, leave your thoughts and predictions on the game in the comment section down below. Really enjoy hearing your predictions, so please do leave them in the comment section. And also feel free to like the video if you did enjoy and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new around here. But we're going to get straight into it. I don't want to dwell too much on the Spurs game. I didn't actually record a match reaction for the Spurs game. Actually, no, I think I did record one, but it was a bit later on, so it wasn't my instant match reaction, if you like. And I don't really want to think about that game. I want to put that out of my mind completely, and hopefully the players have done that as well. Obviously, look to improve a lot of the points and all the points that we need to improve on, and there were a lot of points to improve on. But ultimately, it's a new game, a new week. It's time to be better. It's time to really perform. But the first thing I want to talk about before we touch on Nottingham Forest, injury crisis. Obviously, I'm recording this on the Friday. Today, it was said that Luke Shaw will be out for about 2 months, and apparently the injury is worse than first feared, which is not exactly what you want to be hearing on a Friday morning, a day before a big game in the season. Really, this is a massive chance for United to bounce back, and it's not great news hearing Luke Shaw is going to be out for an extended period of time. They're saying 2 months, and it's a problem. It's a problem. 8 first-team players are out injured at the moment. Obviously, we had Kobbie Mainoo, who I guess you could argue whether he's first-team or not, but he would have fitted into the first-team squad for a lot of the games, had some first-team minutes last season. Impressed in pre-season, actually. Obviously, he picked up the injury. Mason Mount was announced a few days ago that he was going to be ruled out until at least after the international break. We don't know fully how bad the injury is. Obviously, Amad Diallo as well. Luke Shaw out. No Tyrell Malacia either. So if you're thinking, well, this is why we bought Malacia, we've got a backup left back to slot in there, he's also injured, and I don't know how long he's going to be on the sideline. I think they're still kind of estimating it's going to be a few months before we see Malacia back. Harry Maguire apparently has got a bit of a knock. Tom Heaton as well. It's a bit of a crisis. It's maybe not as bad as some teams. I think Chelsea have got quite a few first-team injuries. If you look at their bench tonight versus Luton, honestly, it feels like an under-23s bench. I barely recognise anyone on that bench. So I don't think we're in that sort of trouble just yet, but it is a little bit of a crisis. I think it is a crisis that can't really get worse for us. Obviously, the way we've started the season, the way we've looked so unfit and unprepared for the season, the last thing we need is our squad getting thinner. So I've got to hope, and we all have to hope as fans, that this is where it stops in terms of injuries and we don't get a huge avalanche and we're faced with calling up kind of our under-21s and putting them in the first team. We don't want that to happen, especially this early in the season. But yeah, injury crisis. Obviously Mount and Shaw both out injured. Disappointing, very disappointing. Obviously you've got Rasmus Højlund as well, who was injured coming into the club and is not going to be available for this game against Forest, which is such a shame. There were a few reports last week that maybe he could make his debut tomorrow, but that's not going to be the case. Ten Hag had his press conference today and confirmed that he's not fit enough, and that Arsenal would be the game that they target, which, Anthony had his debut against Arsenal. It's not a bad team to have your debut against. It's a tricky fixture away at the Emirates. But if you can score your debut goal away at the Emirates against Arsenal, it'll be remembered. Trust me, it'll be remembered. It'll be a very fond memory in the minds of United fans if you could do that against Arsenal. So hopefully, Rasmus, you can do it. Score a hat-trick at the Emirates. 3-1 United win. Job done. But yeah, injury crisis is a bit of an understatement right now. And we've just got to ride out the storm. We have got, somewhat of a deep squad. It's obviously not as deep as maybe, some people would want it to be. But at least we do have some reinforcements we can bring in. The left-back position, as you're going to see by my predicted 11, is going to be a tricky one. And you'll see how I've decided to go about replacing Luke Shaw in a minute. But we're going to talk about Forest now. Forest started their season, I would say, well. For their standards and for what they want to do, which is probably to stay up in the Premier League. They were newly promoted last season. They stayed up in the league and stayed up fairly comfortably in the end, really, with a few games to spare. So they achieved their aims with aplomb last season. This season, obviously, they'll be wanting to build on that, but still, I think the main aim for Forest will be staying in the Premier League. And I actually think in their first 2 games, whilst they've got the same record as us, 1 win and 1 defeat, actually, I thought in both games they played really well, especially at the Emirates. I thought at the start of the game, Arsenal seemed to control the game and they were playing really good football. But actually, Forest really grew into the game. And when they got that goal back, and they had about 10-15 minutes to get an equaliser, I really thought they were pushing Arsenal. They looked like they could take something from the Emirates, which is something that not a lot of teams are going to be able to say this season. Trust me, Arsenal are a real force. So for them to start that well and look that good against an Arsenal team that have brought in reinforcements and, first home game of the season for them, they were going to be right up for it. And for Forest to look that good and in some ways be a little bit unlucky not to take something away is a testament to themselves. And obviously you look at the Sheffield United game, a 2-1 win. Fairly decent performance from them. Fairly decent performance. And I'm a bit worried. I'll be honest. I am a bit worried about Forest turning up to Old Trafford and doing something. I think, notable mentions of players. The first has to be Anthony Elanga. It goes without saying. Obviously left Manchester United this summer. Nottingham Forest took up the offer. And he looks good. He's not starting for Forest at the moment, but when he comes on, he seems to be having a decent impact. And one thing about Elanga is, whilst I would say that his end product wasn't really good enough, and it was something he really had to develop if he was going to get, reach those heights of a top 6 winger in the Premier League, I still think he's a dangerous player. He's someone who does have a lot of pace and can run at a fullback. As I said, his end product still leaves something to be desired. Sorry, but he's still on my radar as a player who could potentially help Forest upset the odds on Saturday afternoon. Former United player coming back to Old Trafford. The script is already written for Anthony Elanga to get his goal. But listen, aside from this game and aside from games against United this season, I really hope he has a great season. He seemed like a really good guy, seemed like a really hard-working player, but it just didn't seem to work out for him. And unfortunately, as I said, his end product, I think, was the main thing that was lacking. If he could, make his end product a lot better, if he could improve that, I think he'd be up there with the best wingers the best wingers at Manchester United, although to be fair, at this moment in time, that's not really hard, considering our form at the moment. But yeah, Elanga's got to get a mention. Awani as well. I think he scored 2 goals in his first 2 games. He's someone that's going to be looking to have a big season, and I think some people are tipping him to have a bit of a breakout season. And he started really well. He started this season really well. So he's definitely someone we've got to look out for. And obviously you've got someone like Brennan Johnson as well. He's always causing problems. Morgan Gibbs-White, of course. I don't know, is he fit, Morgan Gibbs-White? I'm not sure. But he was obviously their big money signing last summer. And someone who does have a lot of quality at times. He's not been maybe as convincing, or he's not been as consistent as maybe Forest fans would have hoped, especially after paying 45 million for him in last summer. But he's not a bad player. He's not a bad player. And also, you've got the new goalkeeper, Matt Turner, former Arsenal goalkeeper. He'll be looking to impress at Old Trafford and looking to do his old side a bit of a favour. Although, are we in a title race? I don't know. But maybe it's more of like he wants to do, help beat a rival team of his former side. That's what I meant. I don't think we'll be competing with Arsenal this year, I'll be honest. Maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic. Hopefully we turn it around. But yeah, a bit on Forest, and I think they'll be up for it. They'll have seen the way we played in our first 2 games, and we'll have to watch out. If we don't shape up that midfield, boy, we're in for another very, very difficult afternoon indeed. I'm going to get on to my lineup now. Here is my predicted lineup. And as I said, I was going to let you know what I thought Ten Hag was going to do to combat the loss of Luke Shaw and obviously not having Malacia there with no recognised left back. I think he will go with Diogo Dalot at left back. We saw it last season away from home at Forest, at the City ground, and he actually got himself a goal, a really nice goal linking up with Anthony to seal the deal with a 2-0 win. So I think he will put Dalot in there, and I think obviously we'll see Onana in goal, Varane, Martinez, Wan-Bissaka. In terms of the midfield, now this is a massive issue for us. You've been living under a rock if you haven't seen the complete meltdown and media frenzy over just how bad our midfield has been to start this season. And something does have to change. I mean, if Ten Hag picks the exact same 11 like he did against Spurs, questions have got to be asked. Questions have got to be asked. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think obviously we saw Eriksen coming on in the Spurs game and in the Wolves game, and I think Eriksen will be starting this one next to Casemiro. We'll see Bruno Fernandes in a more advanced position. I'm going to say that he's going to see sense and move Rashford out to the left-hand side. I know Højlund isn't fit and he's not going to be available for this game, so we still don't really have a recognised 9. Martial might start up front. He might do. And he obviously came on against Spurs as well. And actually didn't look too bad in the 10 minutes or so he had. But, I just have a feeling in terms of what I'm predicting Ten Hag to do. We saw a bit of Jadon Sancho false 9 in the pre-season friendlies. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does give that a try. So I'm going to go with Rashford on the left, Sancho through the middle. And maybe to some Man United fans' surprise, maybe to their exasperation, Anthony keeps his place in my predicted 11. Now, he's had a really poor start to the season, there's no doubt about it. I mean, arguably Garnacho as well, another winger who's had a bit of a poor start to the season. But I just feel like the fact that clearly Anthony is Ten Hag's guy, Anthony is the main man, 90 million quid Ten Hag spent on him. He wants to make it work, and I think he's going to really try and force it to make this... It almost can't not work for Ten Hag, because when you spend 90 million on a guy and it all goes to shit, questions have got to be asked. Serious questions, serious conversations have to be had. So I think he's going to really try and make it work and give Anthony a lot more time. And so that's what I'm going with. That's my predicted 11. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. I'm sure some of you will have differing opinions. But that's fine. Absolutely fine. I love hearing what you guys have to say. So leave it in the comment section down below. And finally, my score prediction for tomorrow's game. Now, I've been pretty positive. I've been pretty glass half full in the first 2 games of the season, and it hasn't really paid off for me. But I do see this as a bounce back game, and we will have to make some changes. No Shaw, no Mount. So I think we will see a team that plays a little bit differently. I think we will see a reaction from the Spurs game. Whether it's going to be enough to see a convincing performance and take all 3 points, I'm not sure. But I do expect us to win. We've got a very good home record. Even when we played terribly against Wolves, we somehow managed to get over the line. So I have faith that even if we don't play our best game, we will still get over the line in this one. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 United victory, a second home win of the season. I think Rashford will open his account, and I think Bruno Fernandes from the penalty spot. 2-1 United, and I'll take the 3 points at this stage of the season. We've got Arsenal coming up next Sunday. That is going to be a huge test, and to be honest with you, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm really not looking forward to it. But that is why we need the 3 points in this game. We can't be going into that Arsenal game potentially staring down 3 games without a win in our first 4. That would be absolutely catastrophic. So let's get these 3 points. Let's see an improved performance, and let's get something to hold on to. Let's get something to shout about, because we haven't had much at the start of this season. But anyway, I'll leave you guys there. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. As I said, leave your thoughts and predictions in the comment section down below. And thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.